The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, O Lord.
In the course of his teaching, Jesus said to the crowds, "Beware of the scribes who like to go around in long robes and accept greetings in the marketplaces, seats of honor in synagogues, and places of honor at banquets. They devour the houses of widows and, as a pretext, recite lengthy prayers. They will receive a severe condemnation." He sat down opposite the treasury and observed how the crowd put money into the treasury. Many rich people put in large sums. A poor widow also came and put in 2 small coins worth a few cents. Calling his disciples to himself, he said to them, "Amen, I say to you, this poor widow put in more than all the other contributors to the treasury, for they have all contributed from their surplus wealth. But she, from her poverty, has contributed all she had, her whole livelihood." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
When was the last time you did something crazy, something stupid, just crazy stupid? I suppose if you're a teenager, it was probably sometime yesterday. For the most of us, we might be struggling, kind of over the years with our maturity, trying to recall doing something crazy, something stupid. Well, okay, let me put it in this context. When was the last time you did something crazy, stupid for love? For love. Still struggling to think of having done something crazy or stupid for love? Well, I'll come back around to that. But I just want to have that thought in your mind in light of our readings this Sunday morning. Our first reading there from the book of Kings. We have Elijah, who's coming out from having spent time hiding out in the wilderness. He's gone to Zephathah, and there, just outside the gates, he encounters this poor widow. And understandably, he doesn't necessarily know that, but he asks her for something to eat. Now, the law of the ancient world was that if someone came from the wilderness and asked for food or water, you were to give them what you had, regardless of your own situation. This poor widow, however, speaks up and explains that indeed she has but such little left, only enough just really for herself and her son, and then they will surely die. Keep in mind, of course, there's a great drought that's taken place and consequently a famine on the land. Does Elijah then say, "Oops, sorry I asked. I hope you fare better. I'll ask someone else, someone who has more than you"? Not what he does. He says, well, okay, then go and first make me something to eat, and then you'll have something to eat for yourself and your son. For as the Lord God says, and now he's drawing on his trust from God, his trust in God, to declare that God always provides an abundance for those who are willing to sacrifice for the need of another. Willing to sacrifice for the need of another. And so God does, as we're told, that indeed they have food for an entire year. How is that? Did God simply replenish the flour and the oil when the widow wasn't looking? Or perhaps did words circulate in the community that there was a prophet residing at the house of this widow, so others too of their meager means began to share and care for this man of God in their midst. Indeed, many observer might have said to this poor widow, you know, you really should have just walked away when you had the chance. But instead, you know what you did in providing for this man and then taking him in? That's kind of crazy. That's kind of stupid. Why? To which she would have rightfully said, because God has commanded that we give all we have to another in obvious need. She did so out of a love that was really formed within her and also was her duty. Her duty. It was still love, but a love of duty. And then we move to our gospel account today, and we see a higher form of love being expressed in this widow in the temple area. Again, the backdrop has Jesus teaching in the temple area. This is the week of his passion. He just had his triumphal entry, and now he's already taken the Pharisees to task. Certainly, they're doing crazy, stupid things, but not for love of God or love of neighbor, but love for themselves. Love for themselves. That's why he points it out to one and to all. Don't be like them. They really only love themselves, and they have love for money. And that's why they do what they do. But as he seats himself across from the treasury and he's people watching, it's important to also understand what's taking place. Now, everybody in the temple has already paid the temple tax, and the temple operates on the temple tax. But just outside the treasury, there was a collection point for anyone who wanted to make an offering over and above the temple tax, truly an offering of charity that then could be used to perhaps help the poor and the needy or other charitable works and enterprises. So understandably, people of substantive means are going by and they're putting in substantive sums, all from their surplus, and there's usually a lot of show that went on around this. And that's how people knew, oh, well, there's so-and-so, you know, they have a shipping industry, and look at the generous amount that they're giving. Well, look at so-and-so there. They're in, trade, their family's been in trade for years, and they're being very generous. This is all great. Indeed, and there's so many good works that come out of these generous offerings, but Jesus doesn't really comment on it until this widow comes along. And she takes 2 coins. It's all she's got to live on, her entire livelihood, and she drops it there in this treasury collection. There's no fanfare, nobody takes notice but Christ, who immediately calls his disciples around and points her out. Look at what she's done. She's taken 2 small coins, it's all she had to live in, and she's contributed to the treasury so that it could be used for the good of the temple, for the good of others. Isn't that amazing? And here's often what bothers me when something like this takes place in the gospel, is that the disciples never ask the question that's on all of their minds and should be on all of our minds. Namely, why did she do that? Taking her last of what she has, 2 coins worth very little, and she seemingly throws it away. I mean, dropping it into this charitable collection. Why? When she is the one who is indeed in great need? Well, the answer is really quite simple. First and foremost, she didn't think of it as being crazy or stupid because she is deeply in love with God, profoundly in love with God. You see, people who are in love with another do these crazy and stupid things from the perspective of others who aren't necessarily sharing in that same love. The widow herself thought nothing of it. She's given herself entirely to God. What's this little extra she has left? It's everything. It truly is everything. She's given herself entirely over to God and done so out of love. Would God suddenly have abandoned her? Would Jesus have said, hey, thanks for the illustration to make a point on sacrificial giving, and then gone their merry way, and then a few weeks later she's dead of starvation? Really? Is that the God we believe in? Well, if it's God you believe in, you're in the wrong church. Because the God that we know, God that we believe in, the God that we trust, is always about more, always about abundance, and can and does more from his abundance when we give not merely from our abundance, but when we give from our need. Unquestionably, God is taking care of that widow in the same way God took care of the widow with Elijah. God does love us. In fact, God is crazy, stupid, in love with us. And if we have any doubt, Jesus has been teaching on God's crazy, stupid love for us for the past 3 years. Think of the parables that he tells his disciples. Oh, there's a shepherd. He's got 100 sheep, and one wanders off. So he abandons the 99 and going and searching of that one. And when he finds that one, he binds it up, put it on his shoulders, and brings it back and calls his friends around and celebrates because he found that one lost sheep. Excuse me? That's just crazy to abandon 99, to leave the 99 to go in search of the one that's lost. That's stupid. Unless you have great love. Or the parable he tells about the woman who has 10 coins and loses one in her house. So she frantically goes searching for it, sweeping the whole place clean, tearing it apart until at last she finds it, and then comes out of her house and says, hey, everybody, guess what? I found the coin I lost. Isn't that great? Isn't that amazing? Come and rejoice with me. If you're the neighbor, you're thinking, yeah, she's crazy. That's just stupid. That's God. Crazy, stupid, in love with us. And should we have any further doubt, God who created the universe, God who suffers our sinfulness, God choosing to become one of us, God suffering and dying on the cross for us. Look at that crucifix. That's crazy. That's stupid. But not if you're in love. And God is so crazy, stupid, in love with us. And that'll never change. And if you know crazy, stupid love, then you know the truth of what I'm saying today. And many of you do. Allow me to illustrate. Who among you has perhaps been married many years, and there's been trial throughout your marriage? And yet you choose to continue to love the other, not just for better, but for worse. Not just in health, but in sickness. Well, the world says, that's crazy. That's stupid. But not if done in love. But that's love. How many of you are making sacrifices, foregoing not just what you want, but maybe what you need to provide for your children, for their future, for their education? I know my own father stayed many years in his profession to continue to provide a great education for us, even though he struggled with it, even though he hated it. That's crazy. That's stupid. But he had such great love for us. Maybe there's somebody that needs your forgiveness right now. And you have every right to be angry at them, every right to demand justice, to be vindicated. Will you forgive them? That's crazy. That's stupid. But it's love. It is the love of God, first given unto us, and then inviting us to return it back unto him. People of God do crazy and stupid things out of love for God. Even today, here you are at Mass celebrating our Catholic faith. In light of the revelations of this past summer, there are surely people you know, maybe at work, maybe at school, maybe at home. You're Catholic, you're still practicing the faith, you're still supporting the church. In light of everything that's been revealed, that's crazy. That's stupid. But you do it because you love God, because you love the faith. And that's amazing, and that's awesome. And that is the salvation of Jesus Christ being lived out in and through us right here, right now, with all the widows of every time and place who kept their trust in God's providence. God always provides more than we can. Let us be crazy and stupid and generously returning unto God all that he has given unto us. Every November throughout the Archdiocese of Seattle and elsewhere really around the country, we do focus on stewardship. And this year I wanted us to focus really on the stewardship of time and talent. And we have many talented lay ministers here at St. Monica. And in particular today, this Sunday, I've asked our youth minister, Raeylnne, to come and to share the good news of her ministry in our midst with our youth. Raeylnne Scott and her husband Andrew, you may know him, he was our previous youth minister. And of course, their little girl, their 1.5-year-old girl, Kateri, who is often with Raeylnne in ministry in the youth. She's the assistant youth minister here at St. Monica. So Raeylnne, share with us the good news of God's working his abundance in our midst through you and with our youth.
Thank you, Father. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to give the stewardship talk this weekend. This is currently my 6th year working with the youth ministry program at St. Monica. 3 years I was a volunteer and the assistant of my husband, Andrew, when he was the youth minister. And then this is my currently 3rd year being the active youth minister here. So I've had a unique opportunity to see how your stewardship of time, talent, and treasure has affected the future of this parish. Namely, one of our biggest events of the year is the Steubenville Northwest High School Youth Conference in Spokane, Washington. You probably remember either seeing the blessing of the participants beforehand or hearing from one of the youth after we attended the conference. The impact that this conference has on youth cannot be understated, and I think it can be summed up from a reflection by one young woman after her first experience of the conference. She said, "I've heard my entire life in church and school that the Eucharist is the true presence of Christ, but it wasn't until the Eucharistic adoration procession that I actually experienced that for myself, that I knew in my heart that it was truly Jesus in front of me." And I can honestly tell you that mostly every single one of the youth come away from this conference with the same experience. They come to know who Jesus is, some for the first time, and they have a powerful experience of his love and witness the vibrancy of the Catholic faith. This weekend has changed the lives of many kids, and honestly, truthfully, I have you all to thank for that. Every year, this event has grown. The first year St. Monica attended, we only had 12 youth come with us. This year, we had 46 total participants, and we're the second largest group of the 1,500 total who were at the conference. Out of our 46, we had 10 who needed financial help. And in order to go, your gifts of treasure helped provide them the scholarship that they needed. For this year, for Steubenville Northwest, I imagine that we will have at least the same size, if not more. And in order to bring that amount of people to and from Spokane, I will need to rent a bus, and your generosity, again, will be crucial to the evangelization of the youth who are the future of our church. So last week in confirmation class, I told the youth that we don't have class due to the holiday weekend this weekend, but I would be seeing them at Mass because I would be giving this talk. One of the confirmandi asked, "Well, what are you going to talk about?" And I responded, "I'm going to tell everybody how much help I need with you." And yes, it was a joke because I love my job, but I can't do my job without a lot of help. This year, on average, there are 35 middle school and 15 to 20 high school youth attending our Thursday programs. And we have a confirmation class of about 20. There's only one me, and I rely greatly on my amazing core of leaders who are there every week helping me with snack, running games, giving talks, running small groups, leading prayer. I have leaders who are coming in early to help set up, and leaders who are staying until all hours of the night to help me clean up. I have parents who chaperone and who drive to all the different events outside of youth group nights to help make them successful. Thank you to all of you. There is never a time when your talent and generosity of time aren't needed, welcomed, and appreciated. Lastly, I also wanted to thank you, the St. Monica parishioners, for being here at Mass every week, for bringing your children to Mass and teaching them by your example to give time to God. Also, for making this a place where my family feels at home. Thank you for making the St. Monica community a place where we can have a thriving youth group. And I just ask for your continued support to the youth group through prayer. Thank you.
Raeylnne, here you are thanking us, and it's really we who thank you, because to know her, to know Andrew, who is now teaching theology at Blanchard High School, these are two wonderful, intelligent, amazing people who could have easily found very lucrative careers in the world, but gave it all up for their crazy, stupid love of Jesus. So thank you.